Tonight on CTV News at 6. One person is injured in a North Bay shooting. Police say they're still looking for the suspect. Plus, it's back to the drawing board for an encampment in Timmins.
It's disappointing that the funding resources that were there are not available to us.
The province has said officials can't use the money for one location to move homeless to Highway 101. And one Manitoulin community is shuttering an arena to the dismay of some in the community.
You just can't blindside the public and make motions without having any input whatsoever.
The councillors who voted for it say they can't keep going with two pads.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Rima and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tony is off. One person has been injured and taken to hospital following a shooting overnight in North Bay. Police say the shooting took place in the Seymour and Franklin Streets area near the Highway 1117 bypass between midnight and 2 a.m. While the suspect is still at large, police believe this to be an isolated incident with no threat to public safety. Anyone with information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. A 16-year-old has been charged with trafficking after the recovery of a stolen vehicle Thursday. Police say they noticed the car parked at an address on Frood Road. They observed a young person leaving the home and approached on foot. According to investigators, the youth tried to flee police by ramming the stolen vehicle into an unmarked cruiser. A subsequent search led to the seizure of 136 grams of suspected cocaine, valued at more than $13,000 and cash. Provincial police are looking for the public's help after a tractor trailer was stolen in Timiskaming Shores. Police say the truck was taken from a snow plow turnaround at the Timiskaming Shores sign on Highway 11 between Sharp Lake Road North and West Road. The vehicle is described as a 2023 Freightliner Cascadia with a Manitoba license plate CRG311. The cab is white with Road Riders Transport written on both sides and the front of the vehicle. Sudbury police are considering changing up education and awareness when it comes to impaired driving, especially given some recent statistics. CTV's Angela Gemmell reports.
People think, oh, well, I took an edible. I'm not impaired. I'm not drunk. But I think, education needs to happen in that space.
Sudbury's police chief calls the number of impaired driving arrests this year staggering.
We're just shy of 300 consistently over the last couple of years of individuals still choosing to get behind the wheel while impaired by drugs or alcohol.
Greater Sudbury police say to date in 2025, there have been 292 arrests for impaired driving. That's compared to 272 last year and 296 in 2023. But the chief says what stuck out to her was the increase in the number of drug-related impairments. 109 this year compared to 69 in 2024. That's a jump of 58%.
Our drug impaired driving is up significantly while our alcohol is down. But individuals are still, unfortunately, with all the education that's out there, all the enforcement that's out there, still choosing to get behind the wheel and drive impaired.
My question is, who's the demographic for that? And is it younger drivers who perhaps are more inclined to use drugs as opposed to perhaps older drivers that would use alcohol?
Given the increase in drug-related impaired driving, the Greater Sudbury Police Service is considering changes to its education and awareness initiatives next year.
We'll continue to educate our public. We'll continue to be out there, enforcing the laws, and hopefully the community will think twice before getting behind the wheel.
Starting in the new year, Ontario motorists who choose to get behind the wheel impaired will face stricter penalties. For a first offense, license suspensions will increase from 3 to 7 days, while a second offense garners a license suspension of 14 days, up from the previous 7. And there will be zero tolerance for drugs or alcohol present in young or novice drivers, as well as commercial drivers. Angela Gemmell, CTV News, Sudbury.
Meanwhile, police are investigating multiple sexual assault complaints connected to what they say was an illegal after-hours bar downtown. Through their investigation, police believe drinks were spiked to cause added intoxication, with the assaults happening sometime later, and they believe there are more survivors. Police say the establishment on Cedar Street has since been shut down by the province's Alcohol and Gaming Commission, but say there are more concerns other operations may exist elsewhere in the city. Police also saying that spiked drinks are often hard to spot. Some symptoms they say to look out for are feeling drunk despite drinking little or no alcohol, blurred vision, drowsiness, or loss of consciousness, or feeling unusually hot or cold. They remind people to never leave a drink unattended, purchase your own drinks, or watch the bartender prepare it. Never take drinks from strangers, and discard anything that smells, tastes, or looks off. We're just learning the Mayor of Callander, Rob Noon, and Councillor Irene Smith have resigned from their roles. Noon was first elected to City Council in 2000 and had served continuously with the exception of one term. He was sworn in as mayor in March 2020 after the previous mayor, Hec Lavin's sudden death. Smith sat on the District of Perry Sound Social Services Board as a representative for the municipality. Still no word yet on why the two resigned. We're continuing to follow this story closely. It's back to the drawing board for the City of Timmins and the Cochrane District Services Board after provincial funding for its new encampment site on Highway 101 fell through. The board met last night after learning the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing would not let funding for the original Pine Street location be transferred to the new project. The proposal would have meant a 44-unit modular facility and adjacent encampment support zone on the highway to address needs. The board, along with its partners, will now be meeting in hopes of coming up with an alternate solution and opportunities to pursue provincial funding.
It's disappointing that the funding resources that were there are not available to us. It is encouraging that the ministry is still open-minded to the fact that resources will be required. I simply want to state from our perspective that while we support the city and the DSAB through this initiative, we cannot absorb the type of costs that are on the table, even with the current locations that were being discussed.
Politis says it would mean a significant tax levy. He and several councillors expressed disappointment in the funding dilemma. The board says it remains committed to redeveloping and relocating its shelter services and that a homelessness strategy for the district and James Bay communities is needed. Time for our first check on weather with more. Here's CTV's Rick Wyman. And Rick, quite the mess we had to deal with there today, depending on, I guess, where you were in the region.
Just like it even started overnight, I managed to take a look at the roads off and on because when I see troubling weather, Ian, that bothers me. So I was up parts of the night looking at the rain saying, okay, change over, waiting for the big freeze, then waiting for the snow and what have you. Then I went out this morning. This is our systems map courtesy of Environment Canada. We've got precipitation moving in for tomorrow. 5 centimeters in some areas, 5 to 10 in others, and in Sault Ste. Marie, 5 to 10 during the day, 5 to 10 at night. We'll take a look at the current temperatures in our 7-day forecast, Ian. You've got questions? I've got the answers all coming up.
Well, that's good news, Rick. Thanks so much. And if you're in the market for good news next week, make sure to tune in starting Monday for the 11:30 newscasts. We'll be taking a look back on the year that was and some of the positive news or the warm, fuzzy stuff that may have happened to melt your holiday hearts. That's next week on 11:30 here on CTV Northern Ontario, along with Crave. Still to come on CTV News at 6. Tempers flare in central Manitoulin as council votes to shutter one of its ice pads. And the holidays can be a lonely time for some. We'll explore that after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, things got a little heated last night at the Central Manitoulin Council meeting over a public consultation, or what some say was a lack thereof, as councillors voted 4-2 in favor of closing Providence Bay Arena and closing the Spring Bay Community Hall.
We have public here tonight who want to speak but can't. You cannot be making motions like this without public consultation and a public meeting. And I'm totally totally against these motions, because the public has not been consulted. Just because you think you know what you're doing, we are elected by them. We represent them, and we listen to what they say. They elect us. And you just can't blindside the public and make motions without having any input whatsoever.
If you read the report all the way through, it says here, we as a municipality do not need 2 standalone arenas.
Doesn't say we need them.
We have 2, so we have one that will go in and stay in the Des Moines. And on top of that, the extra money where we don't use on the arena, is we can put it towards other things in Providence Bay that need it a lot more and get more use.
Providence Bay Arena will now close its doors in November 2026 ahead of the next ice season and just after the new council is sworn in. Those in favor of the closure argued it was getting expensive, the community is getting older, and the building is no longer being used. A few residents walked out and voiced their feelings as leaving the meeting. Council also directing staff to research to see if the community group could assume care of Spring Bay Hall. Councillor Stevens and Mayor Stevens were the only two to vote against both motions. The holidays are a time when families and friends reconnect and spend time together. But for many people who are estranged from their loved ones, it can also be difficult and painful. CTV's Eric Tashner reports.
As the holidays inch closer, the CMHA is highlighting the rise in estrangement, the process of becoming alienated from family members due to a breakdown in the relationship. CMHA psychotherapist Emily Colby says these cases are more prevalent during the Christmas season, a period saturated with idealized portrayals of family harmony.
It's really hard to walk down the street and see families out shopping together, see people celebrating the lights.
Estrangement is complex. It can be linked to abuse, conflicting values, substance abuse, or mental health challenges. And for some, walking away from those toxic relationships is liberating. For others, it can bring a profound sense of shame or loneliness, guilt, sadness, and anger.
My job to support people when they're going through this is to actually create connection, help them bond together, help them pull together as a community, find supports in the community.
There are a lot of resources to help. Even just volunteering with community organizations can help lift spirits. But for some extreme cases,
CMHA has a drop-in center for folks who may be experiencing a bit of isolation or want to balance out their social and emotional mental health.
A recent study out of the U.S. suggests that as many as 27% of adults reported they are estranged from at least one family member. Anecdotal evidence from psychologists across Canada indicate this trend is on the rise.
That saying that you don't know what people are going through is, I think, a really important, concept to highlight.
CMHA data finds over 80% of individuals estranged from their mothers eventually reconcile, while just under 70% reconnect with their fathers.
Seek validation for what you're going through because it's very unique, but at the same time, it's a fluid process.
Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
A critical funding gap is threatening essential services across Northeastern Ontario. The United Way says its year-end campaign is stuck at just 70% of its more than $2.5 million goal. It says that could mean support for 49 organizations across 6 districts, including food banks, emergency shelters, and end-of-life care, may be scaled back if they can't reach its goal by March. The organization's executive director, Corey Roslin, says Sudbury is currently facing the largest shortfall, but every district across the Northeast continues to request more funding than the United Way has available.
I think it's important for the community to recognize United Way supports something that will touch their lives personally at one point or another, and everybody at some point in their life will probably have reason, or have family members or close friends have reason to use the services that we are funding.
Donations can be made online and businesses are encouraged to get involved. Well, with wild weather ripping its way across the country this year, Northern Ontario made the cut for Environment Canada's top 10 list of weather events. CTV's Madison Merrier reports.
From the second worst wildfire year to record late summer heat, Canada has experienced extreme weather conditions this year, and Environment Canada has ranked them.
These decisions are made by a group of meteorologists, and we look at things like the cost of the event. We look at the impacts, how many people were affected by it. We look at the region, the reach of the event, how widespread the impacts were, and then of course a big factor is actually how long it remains in the media.
Northern Ontario is no stranger to the list. At number 3, under the powerful thunderstorms, is Samuel de Champlain's devastating downburst that the provincial park is still recovering from.
The widespread damage that was caused by something called a downburst, which is a gust of air that extends out of a thunderstorm, hits the ground, and then spreads out. So it toppled a lot of trees, over a very large region, especially Semillon de Champlain Park. And it happened during nighttime and when a lot of people were out camping. So there were a lot of injuries and a lot of damages.
This was an unprecedented weather event. This was the most severe storm ever to hit one of our Ontario parks. So the devastation was just horrifying.
Also on the list at number 5 is the major ice storm from late March that hit hardest in Muskoka, but Environment Canada says the rain fell and froze for over 20 hours in Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and more.
In this case, we had a big long warm front draped essentially from Sault Ste. Marie across Georgian Bay and east toward Kingston, and all of the towns and locations along that warm front and just ahead of it or just to the north of it experienced many hours of freezing rain, which resulted in a lot of ice accumulation.
Smith said this is the 30th year of compiling the top 10 weather stories into the list. When it first began 30 years ago, they had a hard time finding 10 weather events. Now they're having a hard time narrowing them down. Madison Marier, CTV News, Sudbury.
Speaking of wild weather, let's go over for a check on the current conditions with Rick Wyman.
You know, getting gas this morning, the question wasn't about the weather, it was about the price of gas. I gassed up at just over $1.11 and someone said, are we going to get below $1? I said, not a chance. It's getting close to Christmas, so gas up if you can, pretty cheap. Forecast radar for the weather this weekend. Snow in the forecast for tomorrow. We'll get to some of the numbers a little bit later on. 5 centimeters, maybe 5 to 10, and a lot more. Now our currents. We missed out last night due to technical difficulties, but we've got them tonight. Minus 20 in Moosonee, minus 23 Cochrane, minus 25 in Timmins, and minus 26 in Kapuskasing. So if you're scoring at home, this is with the wind chill. Minus 23 Chapleau, minus 15 Wawa, and minus 18 in Sault Ste. Marie, some clear skies. In Parry Sound, minus 11, some light precipitation. Snow squall warning as well there. Minus 18 in North Bay with the snow. Minus 21 Temiskaming Shores. Minus 20 Kirkland Lake. Let's move on over to Sudbury Nickel Belt. Minus 20, minus 18 Espanola, minus 20 in Elliott Lake, and minus 18 Gore Bay. Manitoulin Island, some light precipitation. We'll check out the 7-day numbers, of course, and stuff you'll need to know for tomorrow's snowfall. Stick around for that and more. Back to you, Ian.
Thanks, Rick. Next on CTV News at 6. An investigation is underway with one of the Premier's ministers. And European Union leaders agree on a massive loan to help Ukraine. Call it the $2.5 billion question. What went wrong with Ontario's Troubled Skills Development Fund? As CTV's John Woodward reports, opposition parties are hoping the new investigation by an ethics watchdog will shed some light on the fund and the minister that oversees it.
That deep dive is coming.
A deep dive, says Ontario Liberal MPP Stephanie Smythe, into Labour Minister David Piccini and his oversight of the province's controversial $2.5 billion jobs training fund.
If I were the minister right now, I'd be a little concerned.
Concerned as the province's Integrity Commissioner, Catherine Motherwell, took up Smythe's complaint about Piccini and another complaint by the NDP to see whether Piccini contravened sections of the Act and Ontario parliamentary conventions in selecting applicants to rounds 4 and 5 of the Skills Development Fund. This isn't the first time a legislature watchdog has taken a look at the Skills Development Fund. In October, the Auditor General found that the administration of almost $750 million was done in a way that was not transparent, fair, or accountable. The web of apparently connected lobbyists and companies getting millions in grants so tangled, the Ontario Liberals put it on a whiteboard.
Everywhere I go, people are saying to me, this smells fishy.
Piccini today posting a photo of himself with a grant recipient as the Premier was asked about the development at a news conference in Buffalo.
Well, I know he'll cooperate with the Integrity Commissioner. We've invested $2.5 billion. We've trained over 750,000 people.
One of those companies, Keel Digital Solutions, already under investigation by the OPP for a contract with another ministry. Piccini was photographed at rinkside seats with one company director and attended a Paris wedding with a company lobbyist. Keel has said it's just being scapegoated, but with so many connections to the halls of power, one watchdog says the OPP should refer its probe to the RCMP.
I think there's a systemic conflict of interest.
The OPP told CTV News at this stage in the investigation, no potential perceived conflict of interest has been identified. If such a conflict is identified during the course of the investigation, the OPP will take appropriate steps to determine whether the matter should be referred to another investigating agency.
We don't know how long this will take, but we do know that one way or other, the truth will come out.
The opposition settling down for a long haul. When the last integrity commissioner looked into a previous scandal around the Greenbelt, that report took about 8 months. 2 ministers and 4 staff members resigned. The RCMP probe there is still ongoing. John Woodward, CTV News.
European Union leaders have agreed on a massive interest-free loan to Ukraine to help it meet its military and economic needs for the next 2 years.
Today, we approved a decision to provide 90 billion euros to Ukraine for the next 2 years.
If Europe had walked away today without an agreement, we would not only have failed Ukraine, we would have failed ourselves. This is a brutal war. It's a war on our own continent. A democratic nation is fighting for its survival, and the security architecture of Europe is at stake here.
That decision was opposed by Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. But a compromise was eventually reached that saw the 3 countries not block the package in exchange for protection from any financial fallout. The EU failed, however, to reach an agreement that would have allowed them to use seized Russian assets to raise the funds. President Trump says he's not ruling out the possibility of war with Venezuela, a country whose leadership he's labeled a terrorist regime. Trump made the comment in an interview with NBC News. On Tuesday, Trump ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers coming and going to Venezuela, ramping up pressure on the country's president, Nicolás Maduro. The U.S. recently seized an oil tanker near Venezuela as part of a months-long buildup of U.S. military forces in the water off Venezuela over alleged drug smuggling. The U.S. campaign has resulted in 28 boat strikes, killing more than 100 people. The last remaining evacuation orders have been lifted in Abbotsford, BC, a week after an atmospheric river brought floodwaters to the Sumas Prairie. Evacuation alerts, which had been in place for more than 470 properties, have been lifted. Authorities say damage assessments at homes that were impacted by the flooding were conducted before lifting the evacuation order. More than 340 affected homes in the area have been deemed, quote, safe to return to.
I'm grateful to share that with conditions improving, we have now lifted the last remaining evacuation alerts for Sumas Prairie.
Today, we are very happy to say that with the levels in both the Sumas River and Nooksack River continuing to decrease, and with the flood warning now over, we are rescinding all remaining evacuation alerts as we move from flood response towards recovery.
The city says it will now shift its focus to recovery efforts and repairing city roads and infrastructure. There's more news ahead, but first here's your full weather forecast with Rick Wyman.
Hey kids, school's out for Christmas. A lot of you had an early start to the holidays by, of course, taking the day off due to the weather, but that's okay. So enjoy your Christmas holidays and be safe. Forecast radar right now, we've got some snow for the kids tomorrow to play around in. Better than rain, and we've got some varying amounts, which you'll see momentarily. So again, some snow in the forecast. And Sunday, first official day of winter, just after 10:03, clearing skies, but then we've got some flurry activity and more snow a little bit later on. Sudbury, Nickelbelt, we've got chance of flurries. Sault Ste. Marie, flurries, snow in Timmins, Temiskaming Shores, snow, and a few centimeters in North Bay. How about Moosonee? Wow, minus 25 with the snow. Caphurst, minus 24, light snow. 2 to 4 centimeters in Wawa, Gore Bay, flurries, and 2 to 4 centimeters in Parry Sound. Now your numbers, kids. Sudbury, Nickelbelt, here we go. 5 to 10 centimeters for tomorrow, minus 4. Chance of flurries on Sunday, Monday, and chance of snow Tuesday. That's good, minus 3. Gets a bit warmer. Wednesday, Christmas Eve, chance of flurries and some snow, at least 40% right now. High of minus 1 on Christmas Day. Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, now tomorrow, snow during the day, 5 to 10 centimeters, another 5 to 10 centimeters by tomorrow evening. -2 the high. Chance of flurries on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we have some mixed precipitation on Christmas Day. 40% chance of rain snow mix with a high of 3. We'll have to keep our fingers crossed and keep that rain away and just stick with the snow if we can. That's the way it should be on Christmas Day. Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, snow for tomorrow, 5 centimeters, -6 the high. Chance of flurries on Sunday. Chance of flurries Monday. Chance of snow 60% on Tuesday at -4. Chance of flurries Wednesday. Christmas Day, chance of snow at -4 as well. Okay, now we've got Temiskaming Shores and Kirkland Lake. 5 centimeters of snow tomorrow, -3. Chance of flurries on Sunday at -11. Another -11 day Monday. So you'll see a variation in temperatures from warm to cold, back to warm, back to cold. How about Tuesday? Chance of snow, 60% at 0. -8 Wednesday, chance of flurries on Christmas Eve, and the chance of snow Thursday, -2. So again, we'll have to keep a close eye on that. North Bay, West Nipissing, snow for tomorrow, 5 to 10 centimeters, and blowing snow as well, -1. Sunday, we've got the chance of flurries at 40%. -9 your high. Monday, chance of flurries. Then we have some sleet in the forecast on Tuesday. A rain-snow mix, 60% chance there. 2 degrees on the warm-up. Getting cold again Wednesday, chance of flurries at -6 on Christmas Eve. Then by Thursday, of course, Christmas Day, 40% chance of snow and a high of 0. So we see the warm up throughout the entire Northeast after a run of some colder temperatures. It should warm up. So again, some areas will get some snow and some areas will get at least maybe the chance of rain or snow on Christmas Day. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on that. Let's check out our pick of the day, or maybe picks of the day, courtesy of Lori Gregg, Lake Nipissing in North Bay. I've got to incorporate some nice winter pictures at this time of the day because some of them have been pretty gloomy, to say the least. So, of course, a little bit of sun, a little bit of cloud, and what have you. So, Lori, thank you so much for that. We'll be back with more come Monday. Still to come, Alana Everson of CTV News checks in on the effects of frostbite. Stick around for that story and more with Ian Campbell coming up.
A newly formed group that advocates for the homeless wants data published by Public Health about frostbite amputations and deaths by hypothermia. CTV's Alana Everson reports.
Conditions are wet and cold at the Energy Court encampment site after rain and snow over the past 24 hours. Puddles surround many tents people live in. Holland Marshall is leading a new effort to get data relating to frostbite amputations and hypothermia deaths published by Public Health.
Getting your feet wet. In World War I, that was called trench foot. And that name has seemed to stuck. But what happens is we had rain now. After we had snow and it's cold, we have rain. And if you think it's better, no, it makes everything worse because your sleeping bags, your clothing, your socks, your shoes, your pants, everything gets wet.
Marshall has reached out to Sudbury MPP Jamie West, who feels publishing this type of data would be helpful in assessing the needs of the homeless population and the challenges people face.
We had the meeting with Holland last week. Right away, my team in Queen's Park has reached out to the Legislative Library to find out what happens in other provinces so we can take a model that they have to share here in Ontario. We're also going to be speaking with Public Health to make sure they're able to work with this data because we know that they had funding cuts as well. So we want to make sure this is successful all the way around.
Marlon Wright has been homeless on and off for several years. He lost his fingertips in Regina and some toes in Sudbury due to frostbite.
It's painful. It's painful. Like severe frostbite, like when that happened to me, it was extremely painful. Like the morning when I got into somewhere warm, it felt like it was being burnt. Like it was burnt or you slammed your hands in the car door or something like that. That's what it feels like, but it's continual.
Marlon stays in the shelter overnight, but says days can be cold on the streets, getting to places to get warm. In an email, Public Health Sudbury and Districts says it does not have access to data on cold-related injuries, but supports this kind of information being centrally collected and made public. Ellen Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
A Pickering woman is turning a tragic loss into hope for others as she urges Canadians to remember to give blood over the holidays. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the story.
Mahogany Brown says her older brother Cammy was healthy and athletic growing up until cancer took his life at the age of 31.
We actually just found out yesterday that his cancer was a very rare occurrence. It was one of those 1 in a million things that just happened. So yeah, this was very unexpected for us the last few years, so kind of threw a big curveball at all of our lives.
Cammy suffered a snowboarding accident back in 2022.
Ended up breaking his wrist, and then later he took off the cast and just had a growth.
It was cancer, rhabdomyosarcoma. Then last November, just 2 weeks after his wedding, they found the cancer had spread to his heart and his lungs. He died this past March. Mahogany recalls how blood products were vital in his various treatments.
I knew someone else's blood donation was able to give us a little bit more time with him, so I'm just hoping that I'm able to do the same for somebody else.
She managed to give blood for the first time last July and then again on her birthday last month. Today she brought in another first-time blood donor, Cammy's wife, Shannon.
Mahogany said she was coming here yesterday, she told me, and asked if I wanted to come join, and I decided to donate. Perfect, thank you.
And how does it feel knowing you've made your first blood donation?
I feel really good. I'm hopeful that this can help somebody.
Canadian Blood Services says this is a particularly difficult time to get enough donors.
We see so much support, which we're so grateful for really in those first 3 weeks of December, but looking at the week before Christmas and the week after Christmas, there's really truly such a need.
Andrew McCartney says they particularly need fresh platelets.
So no matter how much blood has been collected in the last several weeks, if we don't have donors that are coming in the next 2 weeks, then those platelets that are collected through blood donations will expire.
Blood donor clinics will be open every day except Christmas. Shannon Stewart says the experience left her feeling great.
Excitement, and I want to come back every 3 months and keep doing it.
And the Brown family plans to be back very soon with a group donation plan for the new year. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
This may be one of my absolute favorite stories of the year. Cheese lovers, listen closely. A new study out of Sweden suggests there could be some unexpected benefits to visiting the charcuterie board at your next holiday gathering. Researchers tracked the diets of nearly 28,000 people over an average of 25 years. Approximately 3,200 developed dementia, but the risk was found to be 13% lower among people who consumed more than 50 grams of high-fat cheese every day. The risk was 16% lower among people who consumed 20 or more grams of high-fat cream each day. The authors say the findings show an association rather than proof that those foods offer protection against dementia, and further research is needed. The study was published in the journal Neurology. Gonna have some cheese for dinner, I think, tonight. Well, the City of North Bay is offering a special reward for completing the downtown waterfront redevelopment survey. The survey, available on the city's website, is collecting feedback on 3 conceptual designs for development of the parcel of land behind the North Bay Museum. Residents who complete the survey in full are entered into a draw to win one of 6 $100 Hello cards, valid at more than 20 shops and restaurants in the city. Surveys must be completed by January 14th. Grocer Metro Ontario is supporting school breakfast programs at 5 elementary schools across the province. In Sudbury, Lansdowne, and Princess Anne Public Schools, every student at the 2 schools received a breakfast kit to take home for the holidays to ensure they would have nutritious food to share with their family. Students had this to say about the donation.
I think it's great that Metro donated us all of this food, and it was a very kind gesture. Students who may not have food at home now have access to breakfast over the holidays.
Thanks for being so kind, Metro.
That's awesome news. The senior VP from Metro adds they are happy to support this initiative. Well, if you are in the Kapuskasing area, make sure to stop past the Civic Center in Kapuskasing Sunday afternoon. Starting at 4, there will be a live nativity and Christmas concert. People are invited to come and journey through the Christmas story and walk through live acted scenes featuring real animals. Sounds like an absolute incredible time. Still ahead on CTV News at 6. A big night for the North Bay Battalion in more ways than one. Let's just say the fur flew. Back in a moment.
Hockey This Week is brought to you by Rastall Nut and Bolt Company. 18-year-old Bryant Romanuk of the Timmins Rock is back from the Junior A World Hockey Challenge in Quebec at Trois-Rivières, where he represented Canada East this past week. Hi, Bryant. How are things going?
Things are going great.
I guess you must be rolling in that emotional high coming off a pretty good tournament. So despite losing to Sweden in the bronze medal game, tell me about your experience being the only player from the NOJHL.
Yeah, I know. I had a great experience. You know, it was an absolute honor to be representing the NOJHL at that tournament, and met a lot of great people, the coaching staff, met a lot of great teammates, and creating forever bonds.
Okay, Bryant, I want to talk to you about two big goals in shootouts that you scored earlier in the tournament. So how did you process the pressure? It's always huge on players going into the shootout. So how did you do it?
Yeah, I was a little nervous, but I got my name called from the coach, and they were counting on me to score, and just had a move in mind and put it in the back of the net.
Okay, now your team wound up playing Canada West in the semifinal, dropping a 2-0 decision. So how is that rivalry between Canada East and Canada West?
Yeah, you know, it was a pretty big rivalry the whole tournament. We had an exhibition game against them, and things were getting pretty rowdy. And we were in the same hotel, and there was just, you could just feel the rivalry. And we had a really good tournament. We went 6-0, counting exhibitions, all the way to the semis. And Canada West didn't win a game. So we kind of had a high going into that, and they took it to us and beat us 2-0 with an empty netter. So it was a pretty heartbreaking loss in the semis.
No, Bryant, you're coming off 49 points with the Timmins Rock, and I want to ask you, more importantly, what did you learn playing with the new teammates and really at that level of competition? What did it teach you?
Yeah, no, Brandon Perry from the Timmins Rock, you know, such a great coach, and I learned a lot from him. And going into that tournament, I just brought everything I've learned over the years in Timmins, and yeah, just trying to create quick chemistry with your line in Trois-Rivières, and just working really hard as a team, and listening to the coach's system and how we want to play, and yeah, just go from there.
Okay, now I understand you've been talking to a team in the BCHL. Are you heading west?
Yeah, things aren't 100% yet, but it looks like I'm going to be heading west, yeah.
Hey, continued success with your hockey career, whether it be in Timmins or the BCHL. The Timmins Rock are certainly lucky to have you. Bryant Romanuk, my guest on this week's Hockey This Week. We're back in a few weeks with more.
Thanks so much, Rick, and good luck to you, Bryant. Well, what a night to catch a teddy bear game. Check this out.
Creer with a shot. Scores!
The arena was absolutely jumping in North Bay as Shamar Moses found the back of the net. The fur flying at the North Bay Battalion game. We're hearing they had enough to fill the back of a pickup truck at least. All of those bears going to worthy causes around the city. A lot of boys and girls. Way to go, Troops fans. And way to go, Troops. North Bay would go on to beat the Guelph Storm 6-2. The Sudbury Wolves were in Barrie last night where they picked up a much-needed win. Hometown hero Alex Farrant netting 2 goals early to get the scoring going. Wolves win 4-1. The Sault Greyhounds also on the road down in the Motor City. The Spits just having an epic game. Despite goals from Quinn McKenzie and Colin Fitzgerald, Windsor wins this one 6-2. Tonight, the Sudbury Wolves are in action at home as the Guelph Storm blow into town. Game time at the Sudbury Community Arena is 7:05. Over to the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, now where the French River Rapids special teams were stealing a pair of power play goals last night. They played the top-ranked Sudbury Cubs and unfortunately dropped this one 11-3. Both teams have the night off, but the Powassan Voodoos are in Kirkland Lake to take on the Gold Miners at 7 o'clock, while the Blind River Beavers head over to the border to face off against the Sault Michigan Eagles at 7:30. And tonight's game between the Hearst Lumberjacks and the Timmins Rock has been postponed due to weather and road conditions. Very icy out there, especially up and around that section, and make sure you are careful. The North Bay Granite Club is hosting provincial curling playdowns. Northern Ontario teams will compete for a berth to the Scotties and Brier starting January 6th at the Granite Club. The event will feature some of the top curling talent Northern Ontario has to offer, including Team Jeff Brown on the men's side and Team Joanne Fauché on the ladies. Winners from this tournament will represent the green and gold at Scotties in Mississauga and the Brier in St. John's, Newfoundland. An iconic pair of Kobe Bryant shoes are heading to auction.
So these Kobe 6-inch sneakers came about on December 25th, 2010. Kobe Bryant came on Christmas Day on the court wearing a pair of green sneakers, which for the first time in NBA history didn't match his uniform. So these sneakers have not been seen since that game.
The one-of-a-kind Nike Grinch sneakers were only worn once. Each is signed by Kobe Bryant. They're expected to fetch more than $10 million. Love that color green. Will not be spending $10 million. A Hollywood legend is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Guy Ritchie is reinventing a famous British detective. Douglas Hyde finds it all elementary in tonight's Hollywood Report.
Harrison Ford's blockbuster films have earned him millions of fans. Now the screen icon is getting some major love from his acting peers. The Screen Actors Guild is giving him its highest honor, the Life Achievement Award. Ford will pick up his prize in March at the Guild's Actor Awards, which will stream live on Netflix. It's time to light the lights. The Muppets are set to return with a new music and comedy special. Sabrina Carpenter will join Kermit and Company for the big event, which arrives February 4th on Disney Plus and ABC.
Sherlock Holmes, sir. It's an unusual name.
Here's a first look at the upcoming Prime Video series Young Sherlock. The show tells the famed detective's origin story involving a globe-trotting mystery from his Oxford University days. Guy Ritchie, who directed the 2 Sherlock films starring Robert Downey Jr., serves as executive producer and helmed the first 2 episodes. Young Sherlock debuts in March. In Hollywood, I'm Douglas Hyde.
More of a rebound for big tech today, led by news from Oracle. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
Oracle stock moved up close to 7% today. After news, it will be one of several companies buying a stake in TikTok. ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok. Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX will each take a 15% stake of the U.S. ByteDance operation. The U.S. had demanded some American ownership of the Chinese company because of national security concerns. The deal is expected to close in January. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.46. West Texas Intermediate is up to 56.66. Western Canadian Select is up to 42.85. And the TSX gained 314 points today for another record close of 31,755. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
And here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold up $7.15, closing the day at $43.40.09 U.S. an ounce. Silver up $1.65 to end the day at $67.14. Copper up 2 cents, $5.35, and nickel up 11 cents, ending the day at $6.64 U.S. a pound. Let's take one last look at the weather and what we are expecting tomorrow, and take a look at that. Lots of snow. I can already feel the snowblower going already. 5 to 10 centimeters in the Sudbury district, -4, -6 in Timmins, another 5 to 10 centimeters in Sault Ste. Marie. Heading over to North Bay, 5 to 10 centimeters and -1, 0 in Perry Sound, and 5 centimeters, -3 in Temiskaming Shores. Might be a great day to stay inside, perhaps. You never know. And this was the scene early this morning in Noelville. I was honored to be one of the dozens of volunteers who took part in the French River Christmas Basket campaign. Thanks to the generosity of Northerners, 115 families received help this year to get them through the holidays. Just an amazing operation they had going there. That food will hopefully get them through December and put some smiles on people's faces for sure. Way to go, French River. And I know Club Richelieu Les Patriotes will be handing out 130 baskets to Sudbury families tomorrow. So many of you across the north donating or volunteering your time to groups like these. Thank you for what you do. That's our newscast this Friday night. Amanda Hicks is in with your late night news for me. Until then, thanks for watching. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we leave you with some of that fantastic talent we experienced at Telethon. Here's Sudbury's Natalie Crispo. Good night.
Tell you how I feel, make me feel less lonely, but I know that that ain't real. You lack communication, I never held back. You break my heart a million times, but I always come back. That don't mean nothing to you. You say that all I do is complain, but maybe if you tried a little more, I wouldn't feel insane. I hope you think of me on nights like tonight. I hope you miss me in the morning, 'cause I miss you every night. I can't make you love me, but Lord knows I tried. Lord knows I tried. Your silence is my enemy. I can't make you try to pick up the phone and call me for the very last time. I'm strong, but I'm weak for you, you say.